Hey y'all, today we're talking Lake Oroville. First time I have ever been there. May 17th, 18th, and 19th, up there for a club tournament. I only had one day to pre-fish. Took me a day and a half to really figure them out. And the third day ended up being an awesome day. I got so much to talk about. So much. Let's start off with Friday. I get up there, take a look at the lake. It seems like a typical canyon lake, spotted bass fishery. I pretty much Google mapped a whole bunch of stuff on there. I am going to make a series out of this weekend that basically breaks down how I broke down the lake and what clues I tied into and how I got the bite that I had going. And let's get into the basics of that bite. And Friday, starting off, I went to an area that looked really good, had like ravines, trees, rock, had a lot going on with it. And I just started covering water. What I did notice was a bunch of bait, tons and tons of bait. So I picked up a jerk bait. This is the Megabass +1 Junior in Pro Blue. I picked this up, started throwing it around, caught a 295 off of this. Was feeling pretty good about it. I know that lake has a lot of small fish, and that's a 3-pounder. Definitely what I needed to do. Unfortunately, it was on a Friday, not the Saturday. Moving on from that, I put this away, left that area, went down to another area and started throwing drop shot. And the drop shot that I was throwing was the good old Sorry Steve, which is Jackall, Flick Shake, and Watermelon Candy. This bait is my tried and true. I know it works. It's clear water. Never caught a fish on Oroville before, so this is what I'm going to pick up confidence bait. Started pitching that out in those shallows. Went up the north arm, and I started running down rock bank and just focused on the rock chunks. And was casting this out, letting it hit the bottom in anywhere from 5 feet to 15 feet. Just going down the bank, catching a ton of fish. Went into there's like a wood area in one of the back of the coves that had a bunch of like floating wood that made like a shelf. And it was just fish after fish after fish inside there throwing this. My partner, Floyd, and I both just kicking it in on Friday. Had such an awesome day. So awesome enough that we didn't get there on the water till like 7:30. We were off the water at noon thinking we knew everything we needed to know on that lake. So this should be really, really good. What we didn't know is we needed to research a little bit more because things changed. And we'll get into that in a minute. Throwing this down there, hucking it, chucking it, letting it stick, dead stick on the bottom. They just pick it up and swim off with it. I don't even know how many fish we caught. They were all smaller size, wasn't quite the size we needed. I needed to cover water because, again, only one day to break down that lake. Needed to cover water, and I picked up the old glide bait. This is Party Crasher River to Sea 168. And I started throwing this along some really steep banks, and fish were coming up and eating it, but they were, I don't know how they were eating it because I was watching them come up and T-bone it, and they just would not get hooks. And I'll be honest with you, now that I feel them, definitely didn't check if they had sticky sharp hooks. It's probably why I wasn't hooking them. So, reminder, sticky sharp hooks, keep that. Good news, pre-fishing, not tournament, wasn't worried about it. But located an area that had like 1.5 to 2 pounders going down it. just from them coming up. Did hook up with one that actually got it eaten the right way. But definitely don't slouch on this bite. It's really fun if you want to learn. And you can just go down Oroville and throw this just parallel on the bank, basically. Pick the steeper bank, they'll come up and smoke it. At that point, a lot of the stuff that we had fished was pretty much the same. It had the same combinations through all that. I decided to find a tree flat, or like a shallower pocket, less 45 degree, more shallower bank. And I picked up the Spook Junior, Super Spook Junior, and started hucking this thing around, and they would just come up and maul it. And even the babies were coming up and mauling it. Only got one to hook up on this, did not throw it very long, but they were willing to come up at the surface. I figured if they're able to come up at this, then there's no way they wouldn't be able to come up with this. This was also, like I said, like noonish, 11 to noon. They're hitting top water. So these fish are super, super active. Run, run, run. Let's break into Saturday. Saturday, we go out thinking that I'm going to throw power baits. I get out there, they aren't touching it. They don't care. Actually, the only thing we can get bit on was drop shot. Sorry, Steve, or Morning Dawn Chartreuse Tail. My partner Floyd, Floyd is Brian's dad. Floyd was throwing a bunch of his favorite colors. Don't want to rat them all out on his favorite colors, but he's got one. It's actually called a Floyd Special that he special orders. He was throwing those. He was catching fish along with me, if not more at times. And basically we're just throwing drop shot, casting it out, dead sticking. It's the way we were getting bit. We started basically on rock is what we started to actually get him to eat on. Big chunk rock, right? Like we just found the bigger rock out of the areas, started going from there. Then we tried to go back to the areas that we were throwing the more active bait kind of style. Still wasn't going. Ran up the creek to the original area that we were throwing this, and even that was slowed down. So we figured something's not right. We had like 7 pounds for a limit, like nothing major. Then we roll into a pocket with a tree, and at that time, I had picked up a darterhead, Bass Union darterhead. This is an 1/8 ounce weedless darterhead, and I actually had the MM3 color on it, the 4.5 inch straight MM3 on that darterhead. This has the Morning Dawn on it, rigged the same exact way. And I was pitching this out and just letting it fall. And as this thing falls, if you're not familiar with it, it has like a spiral to it, like a death spiral as it's falling. And man, if I could tell you that was it right there. That fall, they'd just swim over to it and just follow it down and eat it before it hits the bottom. Or they'd swim over to it and just eat it, wouldn't even follow it. They just were munching on it. And that was with the MM3 on there, right? And I was throwing it in there and just catching them. And then I'm like, man, we're not upgrading anymore. Like the biggest fish we had in the boat was like a 1.8 or something. Nothing near what we needed to. Was thinking it's a tough day. All the bites turned down. Maybe everybody else had it tough. We fire up. We go out to Main Lake. We go out to one of the areas. In fact, the area where I caught the 3-pounder on the jerkbait the day before. And I throw it out in that area, and sure enough, throwing the dart head on the MM3, I hook up on a fish in the 3-pound class, comes undone, and I look at Floyd at like, I think our weigh-in was 130. I looked at him about like 12:30, and I told him we screwed up. We're getting our butt kicked. Like, it wasn't bad. Like, again, not knowing of the lake, not knowing the dynamics of the lake, we screwed up big time. Going to weigh-in, we had 961 for 9th place. There was 8 other boats out there who just caught the heck out of them, got way better weights than us. We definitely didn't do very well. And it was a game of ounces. If you're familiar with Oroville, it's all a game of ounces. It's all about the little upgrades, the little things, and then the big bite, if you can find that big bite. The big bite, we definitely found on Sunday, because like I said, Saturday about noon, that's when the light bulb went off, and I realized where I screwed up, what direction I did wrong, all of that. So Sunday morning, we start out, we head to an area where I had caught a 2-pounder when I pulled out, which is where the light bulb went off at, which was our biggest fish of the day. We go there, the fish are all like 1-8, somewhere around there, nothing huge or anything like that, but it didn't feel right. Like the bait wasn't in there as well, the fish weren't moving around as much. And I said, man, this ain't quite it, but yesterday we gave up on it too early. Let's just go to the area that I caught the 3-pounder on, and we lost the other one on, the other 3-pounder on. Let's just go to that area, grind it out, figure out where those fish are, because they gotta be in that area, right? So I ended up, we going back to that area. I pick up, again, darter head with the margarita mutilator on it, MM3, and I start firing that thing out through the bait and around all of that other stuff and inside the guts and up on the rock and around the trees and all this other stuff. And sure enough, I get bit with my new personal best spot of 4.35. A 4 1/4 or 4.35 spot way beats. My previous spot, PB, was 3.8. Super stoked. Awesome fight. Ran that thing down, get that in the boat, and that's when we were like, all right, we're on something. This is what we need to do. This is the area we need to go to. And we just kept working around that thing. Floyd was throwing drop shot with Sorry Steve and some other baits. He was also throwing it with Margarita Mutilator, and he was throwing the Morning Dawn Chartreuse Tail. I pick up fish on a jerkbait, and they're just stacked inside this whole area. There's a whole bunch of fish, and then it just like peters out. The fish aren't as active, they kind of disappear. The bait's looking funny, it's acting funny. We run out of that area thinking, all right, we've had our chance, we've had our run. We had like, I don't know, 10 so pounds, something like that. 10, 11 pounds. Run out of there. Check the areas I started at in the morning. Those areas didn't pan out, and something told me I need to go back to that area, explore it larger, go look at the rest of that stuff, mill around through there. None of it looked right on the graph, but I said, let's just go physically check that area, run back into that area, start going through there, and lo and behold, the area was right. All the stuff that I was looking for was in there. I just didn't trust the graph. Started running through, and then we started picking up more fish. All of them were like, or a majority of them were that 2+ category, right where we need to be. That goes out really good with that already having that 4 kicker in there. What I ended up doing, because this Margarita Mutilator as later in the day was not working as well, I actually picked up the Morning Dawn Chartreuse Tail. That's why it's already on the hook. This is from it. This is actually one of the newer ones. I don't know if you could tell. This one's got some chaw marks on it. If I could get the ones that are in the boat, they were destroyed. Like, it looked like you ran over this thing with a sandpaper truck. It was just, they are destroyed. Again, throwing this out, letting it deadfall, and that deadfall just all the way down to the bottom, and then they'd pick it up off the bottom, or they'd eat it on the way down. And I was rotating between these two, but in the afternoon, really this is what the better bite was from. And then when it really got going, Floyd was throwing the Sorry Steve and his similar baits that he really likes that are in there, coupled with the Margarita Mutilator and some other stuff. And he's just throwing drop shot, letting it hit the bottom, and then just slow drag that, and then just load up. wham, load them in the boat, call some fish out. All said and done, end of the day, we took first place for the club with the 435 kicker, which was big fish for the weekend, and the total weight was 1297, and it all is thanks to that Bass Union darter head coupled with this robo worm and that deadfall. Again, this is the 1/8 ounce in the 1/0 with the 4-inch. You can see it pairs up there really, really nice. No, I'm not sponsored. Just saying, this is a really good bait. Definitely something you should try. Bass Union is from Oroville, or that's his home lake, and I 100% understand why he is throwing this bait on that lake. And no, that is not the only lake that it works on. I've caught fish on multiple other lakes with this bait. So give him a check, order some up. Like I said, this is the 1/8 ounce. He has 4 different sizes of them, and he has a 2/0 instead of the 1/0. He's got a 2/0, same weights. Check them out; they're definitely worth it. And in case you didn't know, the 2/0 pairs up really well with the 6-inch robo worm, along with numerous other baits. I've done a video on this before in the past. If you're curious, you could look that up. It breaks down a little bit tighter. That's pretty much it for the weekend. First time ever being on Oroville. Awesome lake, tons of fish. If you want to take your kids, your wife, your buddies, even yourself, and just want to go catch a ton of fish and have fun with the potential of giant spots, that is the lake you want to go to right now. You could always hit up Joe Orozco, Bass Union. I know he does guides up there. So you could always hit him up in case you are a bank fisherman or something like that. You can always jump on his boat, and I guarantee you he'll show you the ways, since he's the one that originated this. So that's pretty much it for this one. If you have any questions, ask them down below. You can always hit me up on Instagram. And until next time, I hope you get them.